Well, last week, we talked about 3 promises. And remember, I said this book, the Bible, it has a body, and that's what you hold in your hand. Physical weight and presence. It has a soul, which is what's written on the page. But there is a spirit that is invisible. That's the hidden Bible. People wonder, well, should I get a King James or should I get a New Revised Standard? What should I get, a Lamsa Bible? Get the hidden Bible. The one where you can read what's between the lines. The truth and the reality that is contained in these simple stories. I said last week, if you read the Bible as history, I'm not sure what that's going to do for you. Give you maybe a nice little piece of information about some of the history 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago. But is that going to change your life right now? What's important is getting to the truth principle in back of what is the soul of the Bible, the words on the page. These promises I said last week, they're throughout the Bible. You can find them from Genesis to Revelation. And each one of those promises, I ask you to maybe look and see if you could find a few. Did you find any? Where's my pen? That's an F for you. F for, and an yeah, which is? Yeah. So God will do your homework. Absolutely. Every promise has a condition to be met. And when you meet that condition, there is a result. You might call it a fruit that you get from out of that promise. Each one of these promises is a statement of higher law, of spiritual principle. And I'm going to tell you, I can hear these words coming out of Charles Fillmore's mouth. I'm putting them there, but I can hear him saying them. These promises are scientific statements, like the scientific statements in chemistry, in mathematics, in electronics. They're exact. They are at work in all times and in all places. Now, there's a problem, and I think the problem is that many of us don't take the Bible seriously. Oh, we may have a certain respect for the Bible. I told you I had one on my shelf from the time I was 12 or 13 until I came to ministerial school. And it was still pristine. Because I never read it. Oh, how's that for respect? Oh, well, I'll leave it there. I won't open it. I won't let the air get to it. I won't put fingerprints on it. The Bible that you've seen that I have that's coming apart, that was brand new when I came to ministerial school, and I think it's the finest Bible in the world for me. It's hard for me to find anything in any other Bible. Because in my head I know, well, it's on this side of the page, that part of the page, wherever it is, because I'm so accustomed to that Bible. And it has all the tools in it I've ever needed. And when I've taught classes out at Unity, it's made me look like a genius. I need all the help I can get. That Bible was pristine when I came to ministerial school. And I remember having the Bible open in class at Rabel or with Frank Judici, and I had a notebook open with a pen trying to take notes in the notebook. I did not write in that Bible until one day I said, what the heck? Because all of a sudden I needed to. And I realized I need them here on the pages. And now I have pages you can hardly read because of the notations. I've had students say, how much would you like for that Bible? Nope, there's no amount of money. There are many who believe it might have something for them in it, but probably for later, when you get to heaven, when there's so much in it for right here and right now. So today, another promise. Oh, this is a good one. Chris, Psalm 91. When he calls to me, I will answer him. Calls, remember? That's a key word. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. With long life, I will satisfy him. That's a fruit. That's a result of the first part. When he calls to me. The first question I'm going to ask you is, what is life? With long life, I will satisfy him. What is life? Is life that humdrum existence, day to day? The alarm clock goes off, you get up, you pull yourself out of bed, you brush the coffee pot and fix your teeth, something like that. You hurry out to the car and get off to work. You trudge through the day and you go home and you do it all over again. It's kind of like the movie, Groundhog Day. Is that life? What you think about something? In your life, you have had moments that right now you can call to mind and they will put a smile on your face. They will make your heart feel warm. They will remind you at some time in your life, you were truly alive. Life, I think, are those moments when we feel freedom, joy, and love. You never forget those, do you? I can think of many. I'm glad that I'm not one of those who can only think of one or two. I can think of many. Long life, with long life I will satisfy him. Not drudgery, not living by the calendar, but living a life of freedom and joy and love. Where every day you have a smile on your face. I can remember hearing people say, Greg, smile. And I'd say, I am smiling. You would not want a life by the numbers on a calendar. You want the more abundant life that Jesus promised and that God says he will give us with long life, life of joy, freedom, and love. Will I satisfy him? That's what you really want. That's the long life. Those moments of joy and freedom And when you call on him, when you call to God, when you recognize God as your partner in everything, at all times, where can you go to get away from God? It should be resounding. Nowhere. The only thing we can do is turn our back, close our eyes, shut our minds off to that presence. So when he calls to me, when he opens his eyes, when he sees that I am ever present, that loving, ever supportive power that provides all good, when he sees that, then I will answer, it says, but that means then I can answer because he's connected to me. He's opened his mind and his heart to receive that good. And then I can be with him in trouble. I can be with him in good times. And I can satisfy his desires with long life of joy, sense of meaning and purpose. Now, when you begin to do this, when you remember that power and that presence that's with you at all times, that is never gone from you, that never separates itself from you, those moments of joy and freedom and love may seem like short moments, but they get longer and they become more common. The intervals between them become shorter until such moments stay with you permanently. The Hidden Bible here promises that kind of long life, that the things you will do will be done with joy, with gladness, not with dullness, as it may be for some of us now. And also, new things will come to you, new ways of experiencing life, not just living, marking the days off the calendar. And take this promise seriously. Take it to heart. Start to remind yourself of that ever-present source. That source of life and love and substance and intelligence. That source that says, I will be with you in trouble. Hello, I'm here. Pay attention to me. Because when you do, I can do through you so much good. Work through you, express through you. Let this promise become a living reality for you. So call upon God. Call upon God about everything. You'll be rewarded. What are you going to get? Long life. Sense of freedom, sense of joy, sense of meaning. And in all the ways that your present life has not been satisfied. That's pretty good, isn't it? That promise is free. It's right there on the page. Psalm 25:9 is our next. 25:9. He leads the humble in what is right and teaches the humble his way. That word in other translations and other versions has been translated, he leads the meek in what is right and teaches the meek his way. Now, back 2015, I think it was, we did a Lenten series. Remember Living Water? And in that series, I took you through the entire Sermon on the Mount during Lent, day by day. It began with the Beatitudes. You remember, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, right? Not just dirt, but shall inherit the earth. That word that's translated meek, humble, here in this version, meek in other versions. In Aramaic, that's macheche. Got it? Macheche. Especially get that. I just got Sue wet. Macheche means yielding, pliable, flexible. He leads those who are yielding, who are pliable, who are flexible. You could say who are teachable. He teaches the flexible, the pliable, his way. That's an interesting way to understand it. When you're meek, it doesn't mean to be a doormat. He leads the humble or the meek in what is right. That's how people who I guess I'm old enough that Casper comes to mind, not the ghost, but the toast. You remember Casper? Milk toast. Just a wimp, a doormat. Jesus was meek, but he wasn't a doormat. He was meek to God, not to the things of the world. Remember, he cursed a fig tree. He talked to the Pharisees and even the Sadducees like nobody else. A generation of vipers. He called it how he saw it. But he was yielding, receptive, pliable, flexible to God, to let God work and move through him. He became a conduit for God to move through him. Like electricity. God is intelligence, energy. How many of you use rope to connect your appliances? A piece of rope. You think that would work? What's the problem? What's the problem with rope? Current's not going to flow through it. The best thing you can use probably is gold or platinum. But probably you're not going to use that, so we use copper because it allows the flow of electrons without excessive resistance. Jesus was the opposite of a toaster. What does a toaster do? It resists. It resists the free flow of those electrons. In that resistance, what does it make? Heat. So you can burn your toast. It works very nicely. Jesus was like gold. Allowed that energy and intelligence of God to flow clearly through him. It's surrender to God. And that surrender allows God power to flow in you and through you. So you might say, he leads those who surrender to his intelligence, his guidance, his power. So they know what is right. He teaches those who surrender the human ego and the human will his way, the right way, the true way. In that beatitude, attitude of being, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. According to this promise, he teaches the meek, the humble, those who are flexible and open to learn. He teaches the way of truth, which is our salvation, our way out of the challenges that we create by trying to do things our way, the human way, the way of error. You know, in this world, we still tell each other all kinds of lies. How to get ahead, how to get the most money, how to manipulate the outer stuff to try and get what satisfies. In many ways, we're kind of like the person who buys a ticket to a particular destination or show or event, and then says, "Well, God, what do you think? Should I go?" The universe says, "The decision's been made." And who made it? The person who bought the ticket. They already decided, right? You ask God first. You ask for guidance first. You ask to have your mind opened and shown the highest and the best. When you buy the ticket, you've said, I don't need your help, God. I've got this. Have you ever prayed to God for something and then told God how it needed to be done? I remember a group of people who thought turning their lives and their will over to a higher power was a good thing to do. And I remember one person saying, when I first tried doing that, I turned my life and my will over, but not until I had tied a piece of monofilament fishing line on it so I could reel it back in case God didn't do it right. How meek and flexible and teachable is that? God teaches the humble, the meek, his way. God's way is always the more abundant life. Isn't that what we really want? Yes. And sometimes we fool ourselves and convince ourselves that a certain material thing, a certain outer item is what's going to satisfy us, when what do we really want? Underneath all the things that we interpret that as, down deep, we know that what we want is more God. A greater awareness of that presence, that power. A greater consciousness of God's presence. And when we have that, the outer things follow. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness. The other stuff follows. The last passage that I want to look at today is from Jeremiah. I always remember Charlie Farquharson's Bible. He called this book Jeremiah. Jeremiah, whose main message was, you're doing it all wrong. This is from the 17th chapter. It's verses 7 and 8. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. You hear the condition. Trust. Anybody here have trust issues? Am I the only one? Yeah. Trust in God. Trust in God as your source. Trust in God to guide you. And let that trust be not in God, but let it be God. So filled with the assurance, the understanding that God does live and move within you. He is like a tree planted by water that sends out its roots by the stream and does not fear when heat comes. How does that sound to you? Would you like to be like that tree planted by water? What? Living water that supplies what you need, that supplies the material for your growth, to make you whole and well and strong. And is not afraid of what tomorrow will bring, is not afraid when heat comes, challenges come along, because you know your source. There were people when the stock market crashed in 1929 who knew their source. They didn't jump off of buildings. They didn't say, oh, woe is me, and I'm ruined. No. Those whose trust was in God, whose trust was God, said, God will supply. I don't know how, but God will provide what we need. And there are people who found what they did. It's amazing what can come to you when you trust. I've told you stories. I've been flat broke and picked up a $20 bill on the street, right at my feet, just when I needed it. Had windfalls. Things happen. Sue and I have seen it here. When we start to think, oh, it's getting a little tight, and we're getting a little short, and how are we going to do that? And something happens. Maybe the 11th hour, but that's all right. The 11th hour is fine, is it not? Good comes. Does not, for its leaves remain green, and is not anxious in the year of drought. You want your leaves to remain green? What does that mean? Green, leaves, life. Still, no matter how things appear out there, no matter what comes at you, you still are filled with life, and you're not afraid of drought, the lack, the loss. For it does not cease to bear fruit. Jesus said, you say that there are yet 4 months unto harvest. We put things, oh, well, that can't happen until blah, 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 blah happens. Or, well, it's going to take some time. And I tell you, the fields are ripe already unto harvest. It's all here. It's all here now. The clue is, you got to open the window of heaven, and that's in you. Trust. Trust in God. Try it. If it takes you 1,000 times in a day saying, God is my source, God is my source. Infinite, eternal. God loves to manifest as my prosperity. That's a good one. What is God's business? Expressing itself. And prosperity is an expression of God. Charles Fillmore said, and he said this in he said this in his book, Prosperity. It is a sin. He didn't say there were a lot of sins, but he said it is a sin to be poor. Why? What does that mean? Poor is a lack of awareness of God as your source, and that ever-present source that is without end. Trust in the Lord. Be one of those who trusts in God. That's one heck of a tree. And by the way, you have a Bible at home? Look up the first Psalm. You'll find a passage about a tree next to the water that is not afraid of drought. Yeah. It's a story that God has said, or the Bible is expressed in more than one place. Silently, God says to you, trust me. I am here. But until you trust, that door for me to supply you with what you need is closed or limited. Trust in God and all else follows.